The undercard for that big fight on Saturday was this Clippers game, Game 7 between the Spurs. Defending champions trying to advance. The Clippers look to deal with what has been their kryptonite. There were more than 30 lead changes. But in the end, Chris Paul, nursing a hamstring injury, as you can see, delivers that game-winning shot with just a second left. Doc Rivers on playing the Spurs in round 1.
With like 2 minutes left, Tim Duncan walks up to me. This is the first round. And you know, he almost took it out of me. I was thinking the same thing. And that is the classiest organization, the classiest players, the best coach to me ever, or one of the top ones. And so all our respect goes to them. I mean, if we could scratch that somehow, some way in the next years, we would be thrilled to death.
All right, that was a great first round. So, Skip, what happened to the Spurs Saturday night?
First, let me say that was a great basketball game played by a whole bunch of great players on both teams and coached by, I think, the 2 best coaches in pro basketball. And it's close between Doc and Pop.
Yeah.
And I was very happy for Doc that he won that game. I'm a big fan. I know you are too.
Yes, I am.
But just like with the Pacquiao fight, if my Spurs had lost Game 7 by 20 points, I would be the first to just bow completely down to Chris Paul and his Clippers for what they did. And by the way, Chris Paul in Game 7, heck, in the whole series for the most part, was magnificent. And especially in Game 7, battling back from his hamstring strain. But in the end, and this just tears my heart out, I thought the refs had way too much impact on deciding that game. Mm-hmm. The call of the game, and by the way, if Doc can complain about the refs as he did throughout the series,
Right.
At least I can now too, because I feel like I have a legit beef. The call of the game changer, was the foul called on Tim Duncan with 13 seconds left.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
Finally, Chris Paul actually missed a jump shot, thanks to a closeout by Tim Duncan, and the ref said he did not give Chris Paul room to land from coming down from his jump shot. I thought there was little to no contact on that play. We were talking about clearly a cinch first ballot Hall of Famer in Tim Duncan, who deserves just an ounce of respect there, where you don't let that call decide that game. Mm-hmm. But to Chris Paul's credit, he stepped right to the free throw line and he swished both free throws. And to Tim Duncan's undying credit, he goes to the other end and gets fouled and makes both of his clutch free throws, which the degree of difficulty was special. Tim Duncan was the best player on the floor for my Spurs for 7 games.
Yes.
There's no way he's going to retire off that. That's just my quick thought on him. I don't see it unless he wants to, but I doubt he does. I thought he had a great year.
He doesn't want to go out like this.
No, heck no. So then Chris Paul comes back down and made an unbelievable shot over Tim Duncan, and I give it up to you, Chris. That was, you talk about special. On a degree of difficulty scale of 10, that was a 9.9. I have no idea how he got the shot up and over Tim Duncan and high off the glass to go through, but it went through clean as a whistle. So I give you that. But 1 second remained on the clock, Stephen A. Smith. And we go to the other end. Pop calls a play to Kawhi Leonard, and the home-cooking, hometown clock operator for the Clippers hits the horn before the ball's even inbounded. And all of a sudden, the Spurs are running the play and showing the Clippers what the play is going to do. Yeah. And you don't have time to fix that, so they try to run it again. And on the second attempt to run the play, Matt Barnes, who's guarding the shooter clear over in the other corner, didn't even guard the three-point shooter, came off and broke up the play. God bless him. But I didn't want to see my Spurs go out that way. I wanted it to be decisive by the Clippers or by the Spurs. But I believe if you don't call that foul on Tim Duncan, the game would be tied going the other way with 13 seconds left. I believe my Spurs would have won in advance to play the Rockets.
Well, first of all, let me echo your sentiments. To great organizations. San Antonio Spurs are special people, first class all the way. They deserve a lot of kudos, and I'm going to go as far as to say the NBA should be ashamed of itself for not addressing this seeding issue, and for Adam Silver, the commissioner, who I like and respect, to come out and talk about how division winners need to be rewarded. That is not something we need to hear from the commissioner after the reigning defending NBA champions go down in a Game 7 of a first-round series that they should not have been involved in to begin with, because the seedings definitely should have been reconstructed, reconfigured. So I just think that that's really a bad move on on his part, and then especially in the immediate aftermath of those two faux pas that you pointed out about the officials making. You don't see. I've watched Peter Holt at San Antonio Spurs games, the owner for the Spurs, for many years. He does not act like that.
No.
He does not explode.
Have you ever seen him on camera? I don't think I've ever seen him on camera until then.
Let me tell you something. You know, he's a gentleman. I'm very fond of him. I've never seen him conduct himself like that. He was absolutely right. It's a game 7 for crying out loud.
Yeah,
the season is on the line, and the official, you know, with the clock, or whatever, y'all make that kind of error and put it in a situation. I don't blame him and Popovich for exploding at all. And again, you don't have any time to fix that, and so you got to go with the same play and basically give the Clippers a series. I'm not upset about it. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm happy to see the Clippers and them survive. They had to show me, because I didn't think they were going to win the game 7, because you got to show me to convince me that you could do something that I've never seen you do, because the Clippers had never done this before. But Skip, what I would say to you is give them more credit than you're giving them in terms of what you pointed out about the Spurs and the officials. The Spurs did lose a game 4 on their home court. I was there. They had it in the bag. They had the Clippers right where they wanted them, and they blew it. They come back to L.A. They win game 5. Okay, they win game. I'm sorry. You win game 5. Okay, you're going back on your home turf again.
I agree.
And you blew it again. 2 games, a game 4 and a game 6. The Spurs do not lose this series. The Clippers won this series because they went into San Antonio not once but twice and beat the San Antonio Spurs on their home court. The reigning defending champions lost 2 pivotal playoff games on their home turf. That's winning the series. That's not the Spurs losing the series. And Chris Paul, all of this stuff, I would hope that even though he still is devoid of a championship, we're not calling him CP0 anymore. Because
well, I mean, he needs to. Now he's never been out of the second round.
I understand, but I'm just talking about in terms of his performance.
He was great.
In games that matter.
He was great.
The brother shows
He was tremendous.
Shows up.
Their whole team showed up in that Saturday night game.
Matt Barnes.
Hey, that's game 7 at home, and I thought the pressure would be on the home team. They made 14 three-point shots. When you make 14, you're probably going to win the game, even though my team had a chance at the end. But in the fourth quarter, they made 10 out of 15 shots. You're probably going to win that game. That's big-time clutch shooting.
No question.
This was a shootout, man.
All right, so look, we talked earlier. Chris Paul still questionable for Game 1 against the Rockets. Let's talk about moving forward in that particular series. You think he's going to win?
The Clippers will not win this series if Chris Paul can't play.
Okay.
You are not beating James Harden, Dwight Howard, and the Houston Rockets without Chris Paul. And the reason I say that is because they have no depth. Now, if the Clippers had a bench, that would be different. Because I think even without Chris Paul, the rest of the starters, along with Jamal Crawford, can sit there and keep you in the game and nip and tuck away at the Houston Rockets. The problem is you have to have a bench to go to offset what Houston's going to throw at you. And if you don't have that, I can't see you knocking off James Harden and the Houston Rockets. I can't see that happening. But if Chris Paul is healthy, I see the Clippers winning this series in 6 games.
Oh, wow.
I see the Clippers. If Chris Paul can play, he doesn't even have to play game 1, Skip. But if he can play the rest of the series, I'm picking the Clippers to win this series in 6 games.
Okay, clearly he did not tear his hamstring, or he would not have been able to come back into that game. And when he came back, I thought he played really well. When he blew by Danny Green for the last shot, he was moving pretty well. I know it was troubling him, it was bothering him, but it wasn't stopping him. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say he's going to play tonight.
I'm going to tell you this. I don't know if he's going to play, because if I'm Doc Rivers, the longer, and you correct me on this one because of how much you run and what have you, that additional 2 days rest, if he doesn't play game 1, can help.
Now, if there's a tear in it,
I'm not talking about the tear.
Remember Magic and Byron Scott early in the Detroit series, 1989?
Trying to tell Magic he's going, and Magic just swung his arm away. He was so disgusted because he knew he couldn't go. I guess what I'm saying is that since it's not a tear, that additional 2 to 3 days rest can be incredibly helpful for CP3. If that's going to be the case, I don't play him in game 1. I go with the rest of my crew. I challenge Austin Rivers and the Hedo Turkoglu's of the world to step up and do something for me in game 1, just so I can have Chris Paul ready for a game 2, or dare I say, even potentially a game 3 and beyond. That's what I'm thinking.
Hey, I'm going Clippers in 6 because I think the Clippers just arrived. And again, it's CP3's got to be pretty healthy.
Right.
Again, you're not sure if he will play tonight. And we still have no word on that.
We're not hedging our bets. It's just that it's CP3 we're talking about.
You need him.
On a team that doesn't really have a bench. You can't have, and you got to remember, CP3, Kerry Skip, he usually has the toughest defensive assignment. I mean, this guy is not only that, he not only has elite dudes, the Kawhi Leonards of the world defending him, but he's usually defending a Tony Parker.
But he won't defend James Harden.
He won't defend James Harden, but he's usually defending the Damian Lillards of the world and others. Now, when I spoke to the Clippers, they think their chances are very, very good against Houston.
Sure.
They are very confident against the Houston Rockets. I think they split, if I remember correctly. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is that CP3 is your catalyst, not just offensively, but defensively. And without him, you lose everything.
Yep.
You're not beating Houston without him.
No, you're not.
The Rockets and Clippers split the season series 2 games apiece here. So let's talk about what's going on next. There was a draft. I don't know if you guys knew that. There was a big fight. There were playoff games, and then there was a draft. What are the chances the Jets have selected their quarterback of the future? That is the conversation on the other side of the break.
The business.